Hey everybody, Drew Richardson here with ASR Miniature Art. This is the day after BugEater of 2023, and let's talk about it. So, man, this event was this event was freaking awesome. I go to this event every year. I've been going since I think 2018 or 2019 when I first started playing Kings of War. The only year I didn't go was COVID year, and because it was online, and I just didn't want to participate in that. But the event had so much going on in it that I actually have like a written list to keep on track and like remember everything. So there was so much fun had. And this is just going to be kind of a summary of the event as a whole. There's a lot of stuff that was going on. I went to basically 3 tournaments the whole time. 2 were like one day, like not even one day, like half day tournaments, nothing major. Um, but they were fun and they need to be talked about. So first, let's start off by talking about BugEater as a whole, the convention itself. So it's held at a school in Nebraska, Omaha, Nebraska. I think it's Millard West High School, and everything, all the profits go to their debate and drama club. So it's a complete charity event. After costs for food and everything, and the running the school, and prize support and whatnot, and trophies and everything. Because like that's the other thing, just like they provide everything. Like you pay. I mean, obviously you pay, but they go and they do all that stuff. So TOs don't have to do any of that. Tim Royer, the guy who runs the whole convention, amazing guy. He's super cool, really chill. Super fun to be around too. He's just a great guy. He basically says, what trophies do you need? Okay, cool. This is how much it's going to cost and everything, and then we'll get them, and dice and whatnot too. So yeah. So anyways, let's talk about the event. It's every year in June, I believe. I mean, it was June 2 through 4 this weekend. It's got several games. It's not a Kings of War GT. It is a convention, and there's a Kings of War GT at it. So, I mean, they've even got stuff like, I mean, they've got the big ones like Warhammer, Age of Sigmar, 40K. There's 30K as well. There's 30K in Apocalypse. Then there's Kings of War and Bolt Action. They even got some more obscure games as well, like, I don't know if they had MCP this year. They had MCP last year and Legion last year. But they also had like Battlefield Gothic, which is like, whoa, that's a throwback, right? That's a community ran game at this point because GW doesn't even produce it anymore. Then they sometimes will have War Machine and Hordes, but it's just a flurry of events. You could go and like you could get a group of guys together and be like, well, I want to play Legion. Well, I want to play King's War. Well, I want to play Warhammer, and all 3 of you can go, and it's a good time. It's an absolute blast. The event's really well ran. Prizes are all great. I can't speak specifically for the other games. I've only done Kings of War, but that one has a special place in my heart. It is without a doubt my number 1 Kings of War tournament. If I had to do an order, it would be BugEater, Lone Wolf, and then I mean really after that it's all kind of even. And no offense to any TOs, but I mean like BugEater's my home. It's my region's like biggest event, and I love it. It is the event to go to every year for if you're in the mountain region, which is our circuit in Kings of War. So now the only exception to that might be Adepticon, but I kind of grade them differently because I think that Adepticon is my favorite convention, but the GT at it is not. I mean, not that it's bad, but it's just not my favorite. And while BugEater isn't my favorite convention, Kings of War's GT there is my favorite GT. So just to kind of clarify a little bit, the stuff going on around the Kings of War event at Adepticon is top notch. It is the best stuff to do. Painting comps, other games, shopping, vendors. And BugEater also has, I think it's Pirate Pat. He's a guy that travels around a little truck and RV thing, and he just has an awesome store, and he's always there. I think he helps with price support and everything, and so do all the local stores. Like a lot of local stores donate stuff, so it's an absolute blast. Outside of that, there's one other thing about the event in just gaming. There's a annual painting competition called the Golden Gobbo, and it is 3 major categories: fantasy, historical, and sci-fi. and then there's 3 subcategories to that, and I think it's 3, and it's unit, single mini / hero, and vehicle monster, and those are the categories within each of them. So we'll get more into that later because I submitted 5 entries to that for across various categories, and we'll talk about how those did at the end of the video. So let's talk about day 1. Day 1, which was kind of like it's kind of like day 0 because the GT itself, the Kings of War GT, is Saturday, Sunday, but there is a day 0 Friday where they have an Armada tournament and a speed tournament for Kings of War. So I've never played Armada. My good friend Mike, who runs our local game shop here in Edmond, gave me the Basilian fleet out of the starter box because he wanted the orcs. And I was like, you know what, I really want to play this game because boats are cool. And I want to go play it. And so I went up Thursday night. I drove right after work, got there about midnight to Nebraska. And I stayed at my friend Adam's house. He's one of the ones that runs the event. He usually lets several of us crash at his house. So he was cool with me coming a day early and just sleeping on the couch. And so what ends up happening is basically I had never played Armada before, and I was taught how to play like game 1. There was one other guy, Matt Carmack, who's freaking amazing as well. Love Matt. He's one of our Texas guys. He also never played. So I'm gonna take a brief pause here, and then you won't notice it though, because that's the magic of YouTube. And then we'll talk about kind of how those games 1, 2, and 3 of the event went. So I want to say we had 12 people. I'm almost certain we had 12 people doing the event, which is pretty cool. I played Basilians, which is kind of a hodgepodge together fleet. I even had to borrow a ship from somebody because I didn't have enough points. And so, which that was cool. Like Tyler Scholes is another good friend of mine. He brought just his entire collection, and he was playing Northern Alliance, but he had a whole Basilian fleet, and he let me borrow a boat. They looked great, fantastic job. His Northern Alliance looks amazing. I really want to do a Northern Alliance fleet because they just look really cool. Anyways, lost game 1 against EOD with Matt, but I mean, again, we're just learning, and it was a slog. Like, it was just kill, and it was a little interesting. This would probably be the only complaint I had about the game. The event was fantastic, so I want to make sure I make a separation there between event versus game, right? The Armada tournament was fun, and it was awesome and very accommodating. I had nothing. I had no widgets or anything, and I had people letting me borrow stuff the whole time because I had nothing. I was literally borrowing tokens and widgets and stuff from somebody like every other game. And so, sorry about that, guys. Anyways, so the game 1 was kill. And like they kind of just did that because it's like, all right, cool, we're gonna just ease everybody in the event. And it's whatever. It's not traditionally an amazing mission to play because it's just like, all right, well, whatever. But it makes total sense for having how many new people we had, and like I think there was 3 to 4 people that was like, this is game 1 or game like 3, or somewhere in between. And so, and that's totally cool. Makes total sense as a TO. You want to kind of get people warmed up, and a lot of people don't play this game outside of just GTs. It's like a side game they bring to just have fun. And so it's kind of the way to break the rust off too. So the only thing I had a problem with, and if it's not a regular mission, if it ends up like that it is a regular mission, then this does kind of suck. But the complaint I had about it was the way that kill works in Armada is you have ship points, which is like your wounds for your ship. Kill is you get the points you killed. But then if the ship has half its wounds, you get half its points. Half plus wounds taken, you get half its points. Well, I ended up killing almost all of my opponent's boats, but because my boats were expensive and several of them were at half or more wounds, they won because they got like a bunch of half points. And I lost 1 boat, I think, the whole time. And so I was like, feels kind of crappy, but okay. I'm encouraged to bring like basically 1 really big boat and a bunch of little boats then, so that way the big boat won't die and you won't get very many points for killing little boats. And I saw that to be kind of a trend the whole weekend. A lot of people told me that's not the case, but every opponent I played had like a really big boat and a couple mediums and like a couple little boats. And I was pretty much running all mediums. So anyways, Not to linger too much on that, but that's just a thought I had. Uh, I actually really loved the game though. I do plan to play it more. I'm going to try to get some local people into it as well, especially with our Mantix Vault membership they're doing now with 3D printing. Like they're doing a fleet like every 2 months. You get a whole. There's going to be like a whole fleet. Like right now, the first month and this month, the whole Orc and Basilian fleet line is flyers, grand battleships, tinies, all the line for orcs and basilians. I could print an entire orc fleet or a basilian fleet right now with my vault membership, and I love that. So there's no reason for me not to play the game, unless it was just something I didn't like. But if I like it at all, yeah, 100% should be printing an army and playing it. It's fantastic, and they're all Mantic minis. It's not like Kings of War though, where it's mini agnostic. The only one you can get away with that is Kingdoms of Men. They specifically are not making ships for because they know people can buy historical ships, and so you're allowed to bring like Black Sails or whatever. There's a warlord game. I can't remember the name of it, but you can bring ships from those. And there's a pirate and a ghost fleet coming out too that will allow you to use ships from all the factions. Anyway, so that was Armada. And I at the end of the event, so game two, I played against Tyler, which was really cool. He played as Northern Alliance, and we played a really fun whirlpool mission where there was a whirlpool in the middle. It was like the Pirates of the Caribbean, I think 3, where they're all sailing around the whirlpool and trying not to die. You have to get within 8 inches to score points from the whirlpool, and if you're within 4 inches of it, you get extra points. But every turn that any part of your boat is within 8 of the whirlpool, you move D3 straight to it. And if you ever touch the center of the whirlpool, ship's dead. So right out the gate, him and I are going bang, 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 and we lost like half our boats to just the whirlpool. The game was actually really close though, despite me not. About halfway through the game after losing half my ships, I started kind of understanding what I needed to do, and I only ended up losing by basically one ship's worth of points. So each size ship is worth a certain amount of points with it being in the whirlpool. And I think like a medium ship is worth 3, and I think I lost by like 3 points. So if I would have had another ship, I probably would have won, which was really cool. I love getting to see like things starting to come together. I think that to me that's really cool. So game 3 was against Steve. I think Steve's last name is Hudson. Steve, if you end up ever seeing this, and that's not right, I'm sorry about it. He was playing Elves. Now Elves are really interesting. I had a really strong start. I think I got like 3 or 4 crits right out the gate. And crits in this game, they don't just do damage. They do the damage, the normal damage they're supposed to do, and then they have a chart where you roll 2d6 and you see what else it does. And sometimes like your ship catches fire, you take d6 extra damage and a blaze token, which means you have the chance to blow up and stuff. And so I got like 3 or 4. I think it was at least 4 crits right out the gate, turn 1. And I killed, I think, one of his medium ships right out the gate. And it was crazy. So I had a really strong start thanks to some super swingy dice. And we were playing control. So this is like getting to like, there's six thirds of the table or whatever. You try to get points for beating them. And he ended up, though, Elves have I guess a special rule where there's modifiers to like shooting beyond long range. It's usually -2. They take it down to -1. And they also can pivot twice. So the way ships work is you get to move, and at the end of a move, you take a pivot. And there's 2 types of pivot. There's a red pivot and a yellow pivot. The yellow pivot is like barely anything. And you don't have to go the full pivot. You can just, or you can go. The red pivot is a really wide pivot, and so it's actually better because you get more steering ability. Well, they get both. They get a yellow and a red. And so they have super mobility. They aren't like that much faster than anyone else's ships, but they're more maneuverable, and that is everything in this game because you got to stop yourself from crashing. You got to stop yourself from. You got to make sure you have cannons on your sides. You got to make sure you can get them into sides and shoot. Like maneuverability is huge in this game. And he ended up winning. We had a really big slog where we just beat the crap out of each other the whole time. It was brutal. So some things I learned was I want to get myself a big ship. I think big ships are the key. I think you either have to run almost all mediums and I think, and because there were some people running that, like I think Donnie was running all Alohi, which is the Basilian medium ship, and he did really well. And orcs like medium ships as well because it's more stuff to ram with, and they love ramming. Um, but it's either you're going to run almost all mediums and maybe some tinies with point fillers, or you're going to run a big ship and then a bunch of smalls and tinies, and maybe a medium or two. So it's kind of like those are the two archetypes I'm seeing. And I like the big ship and then a bunch of littles because all the big ships look really freaking cool. And they play really well too. Like they're slow, but they have so many guns. The Elven like long ship, their biggest ship has like 4 light cannons and 4 heavy cannons on the side, each side. That is so many attacks. My medium ships had 2 heavies and a light. So more than half of my shots from one ship. And if you get that lined up right, like you are gonna just kill stuff. And the monolith from Empire of Dust is the same way. I think it added even more. And it can have like a once per game lightning attack. That just is insane amount of dice. But anyways, so yeah, the event was awesome. I was really happy to learn about the game. I'm excited to play it more. I think I'm gonna jump into it and start playing it around the shop. See if I can get some more guys interested in it, especially since you can 3D print the stuff. I think a lot of guys are going to be attracted to that. But yeah, so the prizes. So even though I didn't win a single game. So even though I lost every game, I still ended up winning. Like, cause they just have so much prize support. Like an acrylic token set. So I have like all the widgets now, all in acrylic, which is really cool. This means they're like a little more durable. And my friend Tyler, he got the 2-player starter box because he just wanted the orcs and the Basilians, and he was like, "Hey man, I already have all these widgets and stuff." So he gave me a fold-out mat, all the cardboard pop-out widgets for like wounds and status effects and speeds, and then like the pop-out like terrain and stuff. So I have everything I need now to play. And so huge thanks, Tyler. Like that was really kind of you. And it's stuff like that I know I was probably going to commit anyways. But anytime you see somebody trying to get into a game and you have something like that to throw their way, like those little things, they add up. Like just throwing that little bone is huge. And there was a lot of new people this weekend at the Kings of War event. I think that was done a lot, like widgets and stuff. Like there's a lot of people that at the end were like, I don't need this, but hey, you new guy, what do you need? Oh, do you need to set up the stairs or the widget tools or anything like that? Cool, here you go, man. Like, and so, because they didn't need any of the price support off the table, so they grabbed stuff for them. That's how you keep people playing the game. That's how you get them to commit more. And I also I think it's oh crap, now I have something for the game. I have to actually commit to trying it out now. I can't just be like, I didn't spend any money or have any. I don't have no investment now, so I'll just quit playing. Now they have something, and it's like, shit. Now you have to do it. So that was Armada. And I was super thankful that I have everything I need to play now. And I can print some more ships and make a better list. The other thing about the game itself, technically, that I saw was that flyers are crappy. Flyers just suck. Just straight up about it. I hope Mantic fixes that. But flyers can't score. Flyers do not get to move multiple times. They just have like one flat speed, and that's fine because it's usually really long. But they don't score. That's the biggest thing. And also, they have to do like swooping attacks, so they come out of the sky and attack ships. If there's allied ships near them, they get to react and shoot. And then the ship you're swooping on gets to fight back with its crew. And so if you have like a long ship, or like some armies just have like orcs and Northern Alliance and Varangur have just really high crew values because they're boarding party ships, they'll just kill your flyer for trying to swoop down. So flyers don't have any like ranged attacks. Like I have a Phoenix and they can't shoot fire. Or like I had a sky ship and it has no cannons. And so it's like, and they don't score. The worst part is they don't score. So I had 32 points out of my 200-point list in flyers, and I could have brought 2 other boats. That would have done, honestly, more damage, wouldn't have died, and they could attack anything. My flyers basically could only afford to attack like crew value 2 or less boats, which is really usually some mediums, but a lot of times it's smalls and tinies. And it's like, well, that's cool. I don't mind the fact that they're basically sloop killers, but they also need to be able to score, and they can't. So I think overall they're pretty bad. I don't plan to run them again. I ran the Skyship and the Phoenix, because they just looked cool. I don't think I'll run them again. I don't think it's worth it. I'm sure there are some. I'm sure there's an exception to this rule, and because there always is. but overall, I'm not really liking flyers. The only cool thing the Phoenix did was like if it does two or more successful hits, it can on a 5+ give blaze. I feel like that needs to be better. I think if I'm having to like attempt to dive and attack you, and I have to get 2 hits, why am I still also needing to get a 5-up? It needs to be like a 3 or a 4-up. Like I need at least a 50-50 chance here, guys. To like I'm committing this non-scoring unit to attack your boat, and it might die attacking your boat, and I have to get 2 hits. So and then now it's like, well, if I didn't get the 2 hits, then I'm screwed. And then it's like, well, I got the 2 hits, but now I need a 5-up. It's like you're making me jump through all these hoops to be rewarded by this not so amazing unit. But anyways, I'm really excited for Armada. I definitely plan on getting into it. But after that, we had the speed event. Let's get into that. The speed event is really fun. I did it last year. It is an event that I think everyone should attend because it is just an absolute blast. It's Kings of War, and the way it works is you have to play on clock, and you have 3-round games. You have I think it was 1,200 points, 1,200 point list on a 4x4. You're not playing on a full table, and the first round is 35 minutes per player. Second round is 25 minutes per player. Third round is 15 minutes per player. So you're looking at an hour and 10 minutes, 50 minutes, and then 30 minutes. And it's like, oh my gosh. Like, it just is crazy. So I played my Varangur because I don't bring second armies and stuff for travel. Like, it's not worth bringing an army just for the speed tournament. And so I brought my Varangur, and I just flew Sons of Korgans right into people and Huskarls, and I ended up winning one game, lost to others, but they were kind of. One of them was really weird with some dice and some maneuvering. Probably should have went 2-1, but I'm not too worried about it. It also counted as a 1-day, so the way in our region works is like you get attendance points for every event you go to. So just going to it, I got a point for it being a 1-day, and then you can still score. Like you get our qualifying points are your 2 best. GT scores and your best 1-day score. So if I would have won the whole thing, I wasn't going to. But in fact, actually, I lost first round to the guy who did win the whole thing. My good buddy Jared, who's freaking amazing. Love that guy. But if I would have done well, I could have gotten points for it. And I don't have any 1-day points right now. So it's definitely worth the time. And it's also just really, really fun. And so I think first place got like a $25 gift card. No, I think it had to have been more than that. I don't know. Don't quote me on this stuff. I didn't get first, so I can't tell you. But there's a second prize. There are 2 prizes that they give out for this event. First place, and the tiebreaker for first place, which there was, is who did it faster. So whoever had more time left on all their combined clocks. And so Jared and I think Matt tied, but Jared he got his games done faster. Which the second prize is who had the most time left overall the whole game. So it's who played the fastest. And so I think Jared, I helped him out a little bit because I got the fastest player award. And so I think because of my game with him going so fast, he was able to jump by like I think 2 or 3 minutes the next guys below him. So you're welcome, Jared. That's right. But no, and I got to pick it was a really cool prize, and I liked this more. It was any one of the ambush starter boxes they have. So like goblins, night stalkers, Force of the Abyss, EOD, halflings, I think that Ratkin. And I picked up an EOD ambush set, which is like 2 troops and a cavalry regiment for Empires of Dust. And so I love those kinds of prizes, but I'm also like a big hobby nerd. So I like a challenge of like getting a set and then be like, oh, maybe I could do an army with this now. Maybe I could do something like with this. And like, don't lock me into like one choice, but like I like having multiple choices. And like the only like concern with a lot of the prizes at BugEater is they're usually like store credit, which is kind of weird. Like the big major prizes are like you get $100, you get $50, but it's to a specific store in Omaha, and that's fine, especially for me because like I have friends there and I can literally leave the coupon with them and be like, hey guys, go, here's the coupon, go and I need this, this, and this, and I'll pay you whatever is over or anything like that. And they're like, cool. But what if somebody that doesn't live near the area and doesn't have people they can reach out to? Like, do they got to run over to the game store real quick after the tournament and buy something and then leave? I don't even know how late they're open on Sundays because that's when the event ends. And a lot of people need to leave to go home. Like, I drove, you know, 7 hours to get home right after the event. So, anyways, I'm not complaining, but like that is a weird thing. Now, I guess the store also will take orders over the phone and ship stuff, but then now you're having to pay for shipping. So it's just kind of a weird thing. I kind of wish they had a web store too, because I don't have to call you, and because I've looked into this a bit, because I won some prizes, hint hint, foreshadow, and it's like I have to call you, ask if you have something, and then give you my ticket code over the phone, and then also pay you shipping with like PayPal or my credit card. It's a very complicated way to win something. That's a very complicated way to get a prize. It makes me think of like cereal box tops. Like, all right, I got all these box tops, and now I need to mail them in, and then they're gonna send me a form, and then now I gotta fill the form out and send it back, and then I gotta wait for my prize. And also, I might have to pay shipping and handling. A lot of times, those old box tops, like cereal box prizes, you still have to pay shipping and handling. But anyways, so I just think that's funny. But that's how the whole tournament, like, or sorry, the whole convention, that's how BugEater's ran. It's like one game store just sponsors the whole thing, which is, I mean, hey, I'm not meaning to talk crap. Like, that is really cool. That's awesome. I think it's literally called Game Shop, or the Game Shop, in Omaha, and I want to say that we've got. Like, they're pretty involved in the community, and obviously they are. I mean, otherwise I don't think they would donate as much stuff as they do to it. So we spent enough time talking about that. I got a cool Armada starter kit stuff, and I got an ambush box for EOD for the speed event. Let's get into day 2 of the actual. So this is the start of the actual Kings of War GT. So something to just make sure to kind of ride. If I don't mention it, to ride through the whole conversation is after every single day, we went back to Adam's house and basically partied till like 2 a.m. And so that just should be given. Like, after every single one of these end caps, that's what we went and did. So games 1, 2, and 3. Game 1, I played against an awesome guy named Caleb. I'm sorry, Caleb, I do not remember your last name. I think you're the only Caleb at the event, though. So if anybody goes and looks at the list and stuff, they can see it. He played Force of the Abyss, and he had a really freaking awesome Candy Kingdom themed Force of the Abyss army. It was all designed by him. He sculpted it all in Render, or whatever tool, but it was all 3D renders that he made digitally and printed out. And then, like, some of it was, like, I think he said his guardians, like his big tall guys, he sculpted everything but their heads, and then he used make your own ornament clear balls filled with like sweet tarts as their heads, and I thought that was genius. Like, the guy did some amazing works. They came out painted incredibly well. The army looked fantastic. Kudos to him. It was a highlight to see the army. I love that Adventure Time. It's an army that it looks like the Adventure Time cartoon. That's, if you don't know what Candy Kingdom is, that's, just get that in your head, and it looks freaking cool. And I loved that show, and so I had a great time getting to play against it. The game, however, was kind of rocky. I was playing my Varangur against Force of the Abyss, and Force of the Abyss, they just must have my number, because I lose to them like 3 games out of 4. I don't know why. Because this was my 4th game this year against Varangur, and I've only beat them once. Now 2 of those games were with Northern Alliance, or 3 of those games, sorry, were with Northern Alliance. This is my first time around with Varangur. The whole event, I have to say that I'm pretty proud of myself. Because tactically, I felt like I didn't make a lot of mistakes, and I played to the best of my ability, and sometimes things just don't go your way. That's not to say anything about my opponents. That isn't to say that I didn't learn anything either, and that isn't to say that my losses aren't my own fault. But there's definitely a lot of times where I felt the losses and the wins all were very rewarding. I felt like I was playing better, and this is the first time I've been able to say that in quite a long time. Because Kings, for a while, was just a social event. I played really hard at the end of 2nd edition when I started and went to Masters. And then for like every year after that, it was like, just go party, drink, have fun, hang out with everybody. But I'm like, man, I want to be good at the game again. Like, I want to actually try. And so Adam's been helping me with that. I've been trying to practice a lot. I have to say that I think I accomplished that this weekend. I played at a higher level than I've played in a long time. The game basically came down to one flank. I had my two nimble cavalry for my formation and a Lord on Frostfang up on the top right. Well, so this is something interesting about BugEater. Quick side note: the deployments are never standard. Sometimes they are standard, but they use at least 2 times in the event they change the deployment. So in the first game, we were playing control, but with a diagonal deployment, which you don't do normally in Kings of War. That's something special to BugEater, and I think it's cool. It forces people to have to think and actually have to play harder. But anyways, I kind of screwed myself up a little bit. This is the major mistake from the game, is I started deploying trying to ignore the diagonal at first, and then realized that wasn't going to work. And rather than committing to the original plan, I changed it, and I think that really screwed me up, because then I had basically 2 armies on the table, and they weren't working together, and it kind of divided me up a little too hard. However, my top right flank with my Nimble Cav and my Lord, and I had the event character to give Spell Ward up there, they realistically should have won that flank, because my opponent had like a horde of cheapo dudes, a swarm of other cheapo dudes like Dash 14 Life Leech guys, and then like 3 Abyssal Warlocks. And I was able to do, I think, like 6 wounds with like Lightning Bolt and bows, turn 1, failed to pop the swarm, no big deal. It's like 6 wounds, they're Dash 14, and they have Inspiring, whatever. But then turn 2, like I charged and flanked them with my Lord and Frostfang and my Nimble Cav, and did not kill them. And it wasn't a double 1 situation. I just rolled so bad that I think I needed like a 5 twice. So you're talking about a total of 37 attacks, needing like 3s and 4s. That's before any crushing or anything. And I needed still like 5s to kill them, and I didn't get them. And they're dash, so I didn't even waver them. And then I just basically, that whole entire flank fell apart after that. I got deleted. Then the bottom left flank, I committed too early, I think, with a couple of my cavalry. He put a big old horde in front of me, and I was like, well, look, I have no chaff down here because I split my army up stupidly. I didn't have enough chaff, and something has to kill that horde, or it's going to just control the center of the table, and I'm going to lose. So I popped it, sure as hell popped it. I charged 2 Sons of Korgans into it, and then I was like, I have to survive the clackback now. And I had enough chaff to like cover my side, but then everything just got deleted. And it wasn't. I don't like to blame games on dice, so I want to make sure that's clear. Like, none of this was incredible dice. Like, I mean, the only real like dice situation in the whole event or the whole game was that flank and the front charge that didn't kill the Dash 14 swarm. That was dice. Be totally straight up. And Caleb and I both were like, what the heck? And Caleb was even saying, you should have won that. You should have won that flank. And I was like, dude, I know. Like, I was relying on that because I was hoping to win that flank, and then my Nimble Cav come down his side and back up my other army, the rest of my army. And it just didn't happen, and that lost me the game. But I also shouldn't have been in that situation to begin with, I don't think. And I also probably should have baited out his heavy hitters before sending mine in. This is something that I noticed in another game later. I played against 2 armies that were as fast or faster than me this weekend, and I've not got to play against that. My local meta is dwarves, EOD, orcs, undead, halflings, and it's like, I mean, those armies have some speed, but it's not usually their thing. Abyssals can go like full on like speed 8 and speed 10 if they want, with like Abyssal Cav and Archfiends and stuff like that, and he brought a lot of that. And so I was like, okay, cool. I don't really know how to handle this. A lot of times when I play against opponents, it's usually like an average speed army or slower, and they have like 1 to 3 maybe really fast units, and I have enough chaff and stuff and maneuverability to get around them, and I have the advantage of speed, so I get to hit first. So yeah, that's just something I have to think about. I need to get more practice on. I'm going to probably ask Adam. It's funny because he hasn't seen these videos yet. I'm going to send him this one, though, because he asked me to, and I'm mentioning him like 3 times now. But that's what happens when you're somebody's really good friend and you run the event. So I guess I get to talk about Adam the whole time. But no, anyways, it was a really good game, though. and I love the fact that I was able to see my flaws in it. And I'm not going to say that like I deserved to lose, but I definitely see why I did. I had a chance to get back out of the hole, and it just didn't happen. And so I shouldn't have been in the hole to begin with. That was game one. Game two is against. Was game two Sean? I'm trying to remember real quick. Yeah, game two was Sean Vilmont. And Sean and I played at Adepticon. You guys might remember me talking about an orc player with a couple of giants against my Northern Alliance. He this time was playing Riftforge orcs, and I was playing Varangur. So we got a rematch, but with like updated list. It was actually really cool. This was without a doubt the most rewarding gameplay game of the whole weekend. I felt like I was able to abuse mobility tricks more in this game than any other time this weekend. It was like just everything kind of fell in place for me, and I loved that. I was able to do blocking with like the snow foxes. I was able to like reposition to make flanks that he couldn't land on, so it's like you only have a flank but you can't fit, so you can't charge. So much of that. Now, Sean's list was brutal. It was so mean. I think he ended up going. He at least went 2-3 this weekend, because I think he beat Donnie and Dwayne. I think, but so he did as well as I did. Which I mean, hey, kudos to him. I don't think he's been playing very long, but he's going to be at best of the rest, which I'm really excited for. Sean's an awesome dude, and his army looked amazing. So, anyways, he only really made one really big mistake, and it was he had Hellstrikers. He had two units of Hellstrikers, and one of them he just like dove bomb down one of my flanks and was like, all right, yeah, they're not gonna. I think this was like turn one even, and he was like, yeah, okay, they're not gonna die. You only have like a character and Krufnir. So I had like a monstrous character and a guy on a horse. It was my Slicksneer model, and so while I agree with him that those guys own some snow foxes, those guys should not have been able to kill these Hellstriders. They did, and it was pretty freaking wild. So Slicksneer has 7 attacks on 3s with Crush 2, so it's 3s and 3s, but he has Brutal 2, and so he's gonna. It's basically 2 free wounds, and Krufnir is just 5 attacks, 3s and 3s as well with Vicious because he's Crush 2, and so now they both have Rampage, but Hellstrikers are like monstrous cab, I think, or something like that. So it ain't gonna work. And then the Snowfox are just 5s on 5s with Vicious. So I mean, if you're looking at the math for that, it's like, okay, Slicksneer gets 5 hits and then like 3 wounds. Okay, and then that's basically 5 after the brutal, so 5 there. Krufnir does 3 hits and then like 2-3 wounds. Okay, we're looking at let's just say 7. And then the Foxes have 10 attacks on 5s. I'm getting a third of those. I'm getting 3, and then 5, so I'm getting like 1. So we're looking at like 7 wounds, and they're 15-17, and I was able to pop them. I rolled. I don't remember what. I remember Krufnir 100%. He got 5 and 5, and so what that ended up turning into was, I think I got like 4. I think I got 4 wounds off of Slicksneer, which makes it 6, 5 from Krufnir, which makes it 11, and then even just 2 wounds from the dogs is 13. I'm needing a 4. Twice because he had an individual cavalry unit. He ran up with them, and I popped him, and we were both just kind of like, "Oh shit!" Like, okay. And the big thing that he caught, and I loved that he caught it, was he didn't have a punishment play after that. He didn't move them up and be like, "Okay, you can charge them," but then this unit's gonna end up tearing you up. And so that was something we really talked about, because that actually I think ended up winning me the game. Because then Slicksneer and Krufnir went down his entire line with Snow Foxes in front of him to block off charges to them. And they have nimble, and they're individual. Like, one's an individual, one's nimble. And they're tall. They're height 3. They got to be able to charge whoever they wanted the entire rest of the game and kill stuff. And usually a lot of times it was in flanks. And with Krufnir, that actually matters. So it was insane. The other big play was like he had the Cyclopses. I can't remember their names. They did not get to make an attack until turn 6, because I was able to box them out so well with charging his units certain ways or giving up flanks that he couldn't land on, and like they are like some waivers here and there. They couldn't do it, And so I ended up winning the game, and it was really rewarding for me. But it's also really cool to see, I would consider a friend and a newer player learn. And we talked about it, and I think he ended up doing really well in his next couple games because we talked about having to, like, and maybe you should double down the Hellstrikers, like put them both on the same flank. And that's a huge threat that your opponent has to deal with. That I don't know if they can. And so he ended up doing that the rest of his games, and I think he did really well. I think he got two wins. The rest that's how he got his 2 wins. And I think he just barely lost his 5th game. And he almost went 3-2. So good for him. The guy's awesome, and I love seeing that. That's something else. Quick side note into the speed tournament. There was a new guy, Logan, that I played there, and we literally I stopped the clock to explain charge rules and stuff to him because I wanted to make sure he got something out of our game, and he was able to learn. Because he had a succubus hero, and I was like, dude, you charge her into anything and it stops them. She's gonna do a wound, and then they basically have to charge her, and she has ensnare, so it's gonna actually be really hard to kill her. And so I feel like he was able to learn a lot. Anyways, so game 3 from day 2 was against John Becker, and this is probably the only game of the weekend that I was disappointed with. And it was not because of John, it was really nobody's fault. It was a kind of a dumb matchup situation. So I'm 1-1, and I'm going into an opponent who's 2-0, which shouldn't happen. We don't have the same record. We were nowhere near each other on points. I think he had 10 more points than I did, which is half a game win. And so I was like, wait, why are you playing me? I found it out halfway through the game. I was like, who beat you? Because his list was really nasty. He's like, oh, I'm 2-0. I was like, well, then why the heck are we playing? And someone pointed out that there's club immunity for the first 3 first 3 games, and everybody else that was around him in points was his club, so he got a pair down. I felt kind of cheated from that, to be totally honest. I felt like I should have went 2-1 day 1. I mean, honestly, even against the game, I should have went 2-1. I feel like no matter what, because I either shouldn't have played John, I should have played somebody at my level that I probably could have beat, or the game against Caleb, I shouldn't have lost my flank like I did. So I was like, that felt very robbed. And it's just, I think club immunity is silly. I understand people don't want to drive forever, to play against the guys they came with, but I'm like, I don't want to drive 8 hours to get paired up against someone I shouldn't be playing against. Because John's won BugEater 2 years ago. He got best general this year, and he brought a super raunchy list, and I was like, why am I playing against this? And it just wasn't fun. Now the upside to it is that he's awesome. He's a great guy. I've known him for years. I've known him for as long as I've been going to BugEater, and he's a stellar dude. So this is nothing against him at all. I just felt like club immunity should be 2 rounds only, or it should stop after a certain point value. So if you are 40 points is after round 2, the max points it's 20 points per game. So 40 points would be the max. If you're at 30 points or higher going into round 3, you club immunity shouldn't matter. A whole day of games, over half the games of the event having club immunity, kind of feels not good. I don't enjoy that. So, anyways, the game itself was also pretty freaking brutal. It was just his list was super good. He played ogres. He brought 4 dudes with Lightning Bolt 6. One of them had Lightning Bolt 7. So, right there you're looking at 25 Lightning Bolt. Plus the event character has 5 Lightning Bolt with Elite, so that's 28 Lightning Bolt. Well, a third of my army has Stealthy. Lightning Bolt, apparently in this game, doesn't care about Stealthy, which is something else I don't like. Fireball, which is like a hand nuke, does care about Stealthy and cover, but Lightning Bolt only cares about cover. I feel like magic in this game needs to take effects from everything. So cover, Stealthy, individual, all of it. They all need to take effect of it, but it needs to be capped at a -1. So you're never hitting worse than a 5-up, but you're affected by all the rules. And that keeps it fair to the people who are paying points for those rules, but it also keeps it fair for, magic's supposed to be different because it's magic. Shooting, you can literally take effects from Stealthy, individual, and cover and be hitting on 7s, which is 6s with half your dice. There's way more ways to penalize. Magic's also already good because you can move and shoot with it. unless you have a special rule, you can't move and shoot without a -1 penalty. So I feel like that needs to be changed, but c'est la vie, right? Turn 1, he killed the Sons of Korgan unit with lightning bolt. That's pretty much why I'm going in all this and why I'm bitter about it. It's because I specifically paid for stealthy on my Sons of Korgans, and he shot all of his lightning bolt at one unit very first turn of the game and killed it. So I lost like a 260 point unit right out the gate, and that felt pretty crappy. The game though, we were playing, I think, Rays or whatever. Or there's like one token in the middle that can't be burned, and there's 3 on each side that can be. And we have to burn the tokens across from us. So I had to get to his side and burn stuff, and he had to get to my stuff and burn stuff. I was playing incredibly well, despite him having an amazing list. I was playing at the absolute top of my ability. I got 2 of my tokens out of my 3, like in the first couple turns, and and he had none. And then one turn he picked up 4 units. He got a lucky boxcars on a Suns unit, which I had 5 wounds. He literally needed boxcars to kill me. Killed them. He needed boxcars. It was either boxcars or like a 10 or 11 to kill a Lord on Frostfang twice, and he did it. And then he killed like a Snowfox unit and a Huskarl unit. And I was like, cool. And then I had Krufnir charging a regiment of warriors, and he literally fought them the entire game. He did not ever kill them. And if I would have killed them, they were the only things between me and my last token. And if I would have killed them, I would have gotten my token and I would have won the game. So between Krufnir not killing, like it's so heartbreaking to go into a matchup, be like, I'm not going to win, and then play really, really well and be like, I'm actually going to win this game, and to have it just kind of taken from you because of just bullshit. So it was rough. It was the hardest game of the entire weekend, because I felt like I shouldn't have been there to begin with. But at the same time, I can't be super discouraged because I played really well, and I only lost to the guy who got best general to crazy rolls. I mean, I was really winning the game, and and then he just killed a third of my army in one go. So, anyways, that was day 1. The only other thing to think about day 1, and this is day 2, sorry. This is the reason you go to this event. It's because after day 1 of the GT, after the first 3 games, there is a huge barbecue they do at Billy Henninger's house where everybody's like wives and everybody cooks. Like all the guys are cooking brisket all day, and like neighbors are helping out. Like it is a huge community event where they just have hundreds and hundreds of dollars of food. Nobody, like people, like seconds, thirds, you can go back and get as much food as you want. And Billy's wife, I believe it's Miss Rachel, makes some of the best macaroni and cheese I've ever had in my life. That stuff is just literally just edible gold. It's so fantastic. And everybody is just eating their life out and drinking and having fun and talking. There's a big kiddie pool in the middle of the yard. It's just in the backyard of Billy's house with a ton of barbecue going and cookies and macaroni and cheese and barbecue, brisket, ribs, burgers, hot dogs, everything. It's a cookout. It's a family reunion. This event is a family reunion. That is why it is my favorite event. I come back every year and see the same people I love to hang out with every year. Go have this awesome cookout. Doesn't matter how the games go. At the end of the day, everybody's just laughing and having fun and loving it. And it's so sad to leave because it is like I love all these people so much. And you have like, 20 to you have almost the whole event at this guy's backyard. It's so freaking awesome. And so I mean, I'm just literally sitting there drinking, some cold beers and eating some great food and talking to some of my favorite people in the world. And I can't ask for anything better. And that is what this event is. And then we have the after party at Adam's house where we stay up till like midnight to 2:30, drinking and playing board games. So the party don't stop. Anyways, going into games 4 and 5 on day 3. Game 4 was against Mark. Mark, I'm so sorry, I do not remember your name. But Mark and I have not played in a few years. I think we played my first BugEater and he was playing Dwarves. This time he's playing Basilians, and this is the second game where I have not played against a lot of stuff that's as fast or faster than me, and he has like a low high and knights, and so I didn't. This is the one game I think of the whole weekend that I played that I really just didn't have a good grasp of what was going on, and I lost it because I was stupid. Um, Alohi are mean, and I mean his whole army is like super high defense with a lot of heal and a lot of iron resolve. And if I don't hit it and kill it right then and there, I will just lose. And that's what happened. I took a lot of bad charges. They didn't work out for me. I needed to double charge a lot more stuff than I thought because a lot of his stuff was like, I'm a regiment, but I'm 15, 17. I'm like, oh, well, that's weird. And you're defense 5 with iron resolve, so you're going to just kill me on the clapback. And because of all your other mobility. And that's what happened. He's going to heal up everything with his Phoenix and his Radiance of Life and his heal he brought the Druid, which had a heal. And it's just like, good Lord, man, like I just can't deal with it. He whooped my butt. And we were playing, this was another one where the deployments were at the far ends instead of normal, like Dawn of War across the table style. And we were playing Dominate, and he just was able to jam the middle, and nothing ever died. So, and eventually I lost the grind out. That's just really all there is to say about the game. It was a fun game. It was really fun. We were on the stream, so if you guys go back and look at it, we were playing on this awesome like pumpkin table that I think Russ printed, the Allfather. I really hope I was asking if he could print me one of them. I hope he does. I think it's a freaking awesome table. So, game 5 was against a new friend, Dwayne Richardson. He is, I guess, so he is in the military and he travels because of it. But he's an old time like mountain region player that's like finally back close enough to where he can start coming to the events again. I think he said that this is his first BugEater. And we were wanting to play all weekend because we kicked it off really well because he was friends with all the Kansas guys and I'm really good friends with them all. And so we were hanging out the whole time and we were like, oh, we need to have a battle of the Richardsons. And so we finally got it. We got to play Invade, and it felt kind of cheeky at first because I was like, oh, this is gonna be an easy win because it was Invade against dwarves, and I'm playing one of the faster armies in the game with Varinger, and I'm like, this is not even fair. But holy crap, did that game was incredibly tight. What ended up happening was I won a flank with my Nimble Cav really well because it was Brock Rider versus Nimble Cav, and I was able to win that flank, which is crazy because Brock Riders hit like trucks. But Slick Sneer was with them and Snow Foxes were with them, so I was able to dodge charges, shoot a little bit, and then I would get like Slick Sneer. He would dive their character to hold it back and stuff, and so it was just kind of a weird deal. But I ended up winning that flank. One of the Brock Raiders like got around me, and Slick Sneer basically chased it the whole game and finally killed it. Luckily at the end, because it's worth like I think 3 points for Invade. But the biggest challenge was I hit a bunch of Earth Elementals, not anticipating the power of Defense 6 and Dash 15, I think, and it jammed up my line. And I got one devastated, and I double ones it, and it stopped my whole left flank from being able to do anything. My middle was a Suns unit and some Huskarls, and they charged. I had my Lord and Frostfang and a Huskarl, or a Suns unit charge his horde of like Defense 5, Bulwark, whatever guys. I think the guys in the formation. I don't know. I can't remember. Anyways, and I didn't expect to kill him, but I get started, and he's not going to kill me back. They're all like just they're hitting on 2s of the league because they give him brute sharpness, but they have no crush, and so between getting some good waivers against me, and then I got his horde to double ones, and I double ones it. Or I think I got it technically like needing 4s, but I double ones it. And then I was like, okay, well, crap. And then the next turn, I double ones it again. And there was also a turn where I wavered 4 units, and he got every single headstrong. And so I went from a game that I thought I was guaranteed to win to now, oh crap, he has like 12 unit strength across the line with this freaking huge horde, and what am I going to do about it? So thankfully, this was like a super clutch play. He dove like a fire priest into my druid character, and thanks to ensnare, and the fire priest only have like 1 attack, he didn't disorder me. He wasn't able to wound me. And my druid character was able to move, lightning bolt the horde, and finally pop it the third time it was supposed to die. And that it was what won me the game. I charged my Huskarls into a unit strength 3 unit that he was just trying to get across the table, and I was able to still be in range, charge them, luckily killed them, and then killed the horde. And so it turned it from like a 9 unit strength for me, I think, to a like 5 unit strength for him game. It was, but I should have 100% lost because I think it was like a 6 unit strength game for him because I remember we specifically talked about if he had the horde he would have won, and so that double ones, the 2 double ones in a row, and then coming down to needing the third time to try to kill this horde was absolutely just ridiculously brutal. It was so tough. But it was a great game. I voted for him as my favorite opponent the whole weekend. It was the best game we played. The Battle of the Richardsons, very fun, very flavorful. Mark's game, and this is, again, no insult to any of my opponents. I don't think a bad game voted anybody. That's so hard to do at King's events. Every game is freaking awesome. And so Mark's game was also incredibly fun because it was we were basically playing the same list. High speed, lots of cav, high defense, like shredding units. But it was good versus evil, and so it felt very, very thematic. And then even the game against John that I felt like I got robbed, like it was rewarding because it was like I only lost because of rolls. I played against one of the best players here and almost beat him. And then like the game against Caleb and Sean was incredibly fun because Sean and me have a history together, and Caleb's army looked so freaking cool, and it was fun fighting it. So every game was awesome. So that's the wrap up for the games. To end the whole event, let's just wrap everything up with the awards. I'll talk about just briefly the awards I can remember for the GT itself, which John got Best General. Sean, not Sean Vilmont, but other Sean. Sorry, John, I don't remember your name. Got second Best Overall. And then Jared, one of our Kansas guys, got second Best General. And he actually had the most kill points the entire tournament by like 2,000 points. He killed one more army more than everybody else. So good job, Jared. But yeah, those are the general events I remember winning. And then Adam, not Adam Ballard, but I don't remember Adam from Iowa's name. But he got the best Druid character. He painted the best Druid. He looked really great. And then there was Connor got best sports. I think it was Connor. And then for me, I got best painted army and player's choice. And when I got that, it was an absolute relief. Like I felt like I'd worked so hard on my Varangur army, and I've worked so hard for Kings of War to try and paint to the best of my ability and win an event painting. That's the goal at every tournament. It's like win best painted, win best painted, win best painted. It's been such a long road to get here, and to have not only the judges give me like max points and choose me to be best painted from a technical application, but to also have all my peers vote my army to be the one, like, so player's choice is the army you would want to take home with you. For all my peers to vote for my army to be the best as well, it only just secures that more. Because it's like, okay, technically and, from WoW factor, the army looks amazing and everybody loves it. And so it really was awesome to win not just one but both of those. And I ended up getting a plaque for best painted army, and I got a really cool like miniature, a miniature prize. It's like 4-armed fish dude. It looks really cool for player's choice. And then I also got the best overall fantasy miniature for the Golden Gobbo. I won one of the 3 full archetypes. And I don't think they do an overall. I don't know. I don't know a ton of the details about it. I just enter my pieces and go. But I entered my Frost Giant Hrim and my Scuttles that won Brush with Death at Adepticon into the large fantasy miniatures or monstrous fantasy miniatures category. And then I entered Boba Fett and Abaddon into sci-fi single mini and my ATST and sci-fi vehicle, and the Frost Giant won Best Fantasy Miniature overall. And I thought that was awesome. So I won my category, like my whole, like the whole category. It felt amazing to get that. I think I've gotten something at Golden Gobbo for this year and last year, and I think maybe one other time, but it's something that I really enjoyed participating in. I hope they never stop doing it. It's super fun, and it's just a nice way to, like, hey, I worked on this mini that I don't actually play with, but I want to show it off, and I can't do that. Like, I wasn't there playing Star Wars or 40K, but I wanted to enter Abaddon and Boba Fett and everybody into competition, and it's a way for me to get to do that. So, yeah. So overall, I mean, as my buddy Travis would say, I was bringing home the hardware. I ended up getting $50 gift certificate to Game Shop for Best Painted Army and for the Golden Gobbo, and then I got a sweet model kit for Player's Choice. I mean, man, I got like $200 worth of stuff, so which was well worth the investment of all the painting fees and tournament fees and everything like that. I mean, honestly, it would have all been worth it just because of the event itself. I've gone to BugEater and not won anything, and it's still like, yep, this is the best tournament, and I'll never stop thinking that. They got to do something really wrong for me to not love this tournament. So don't do that. Don't do that, guys. So future projects. This event really impacted a lot of my schedule, hobby-wise and game-wise. I was already planning to go to Best of the Rest, which is going to be the side event to Masters, so which Nebraska is hosting this year at the same venue. They're getting to host Masters, and they're doing a Best of the Rest tournament alongside of it. So anybody who's going to Masters but isn't a Masters player, so like, Masters is the top 8 players from every region. It's a 64-man tournament. They all play, and they have their Masters event. But the venue is large enough to host a second tournament for anybody else who wants to come and celebrate Masters. They can play in the Best of the Rest, and that's what I'm going for. I didn't qualify for Masters this year, hoping that that's a goal of mine, is to keep every year I want to qualify for Masters. So hopefully this is the last year I have to play in Best of the Rest. But I'm really excited for it, because the Best of the Rest field is usually really rough, because it's usually like, oh, I wasn't 8th in my region, but I was like 9th and 10th, and I want to go. And it's like, oh, well, crap. Like, everybody else is still really tough, and so it's a lot of fun. But I'm excited for that. I'm probably going to do a Empire of Dust Mantic army next. I have a 90% Ratkin Mantic army, and I'm wanting to do a 90% Mantic EOD army. And I've got a lot of that stuff already picked up from like prize support and stuff. So those are like the big projects for Kings of War next. And then, of course, tweaking the Varangur list and event minis. Like, that's one of my favorite parts about event-specific minis. Like, you get a hero, you have to kind of paint it to match your army. It keeps an army that you're done with going. It keeps you still having to do some hobby stuff for it. Like, Dojo's going to do a samurai. Bison Brawl's going to do a bison monster. And I got to come up with cool ways to make minis that match my army for those. So, the other one is Armada. I am incredibly excited to do an Armada army now, like a real one, like actually like print out a whole fleet, paint it up really nice, and start playing Armada more, because that game is so fun. I really want to keep playing it, and I might end up having to wait a little bit, because I don't know that I want to keep doing Basilians. I might, just because I already own some stuff. And the Orc ships, while Orcs rules sound really cool, the Orc ships look pretty goofy. I don't know that I'm not into that. But I might wait and see. Like, they did Dwarves this month on the Vault. I'm probably going to wait and see what happens next month. And if they release something like Northern Alliance or Sally's maybe, I'll jump in on them. Or Twilightkin. Oh my goodness, Twilightkin look really cool. There's a lot of, I mean, Trident Realms also looks so freaking cool. It's like sea monsters with like boats on their backs. And then the Ghost Fleets and the Pirates coming out. Kingdoms of Men, even if I could find some cool Kingdoms of Men boats, like just some third-party pirate ships, like that would look cool. So we'll see what happens, but I'm definitely going to start working on an Armada force just to take with me and have it painted really well to go take to like side events. But anyways, that's the whole event. Had an absolute blast. This was my best BugEater yet. It was super significant to me on multiple levels. I hit huge hobby milestones with the best painted stuff, the Golden Gobbo, but then also play wise, I did better than I think I've done in a long time, and I'm really proud of that. Uh, Hope none of this came across as complaining or and none of my opponents did anything wrong. No, none of the event staff or the tournament stuff was bad. There were some things that quirks happen. I mean, that's gonna happen at every event. So none of this by any means is a knock to any of those people. I had an absolute blast. Loved seeing everybody. Loved the event. I cannot wait for next year. So yeah, let me know if you guys have any questions. Bye.